Start.
Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the topic organism and population. So already in the previous class we have completed a small portion of this topic. In today's class I am going to discuss with you the major abiotic factors. Let us discuss major abiotic factors. So in the last class we have studied that ecology is a branch of science where it deals the study of interaction of organisms among the organisms and the organisms and the environment. So the relation or interaction between the organisms and the environmental factor is the part of the ecology study. So what are the major factors which we are studying in today's class are: the first one is temperature, second one is water, third one is light, and fourth one is soil. So these are the four factors which we are going to discuss in today's class. Let us start first with the temperature. How temperature is going to affect the organism in ecosystem. Temperature is the most relevant environmental factor, and as we know, temperature is seasonally varying. And also, when we move from the equator to the polar region, in our global region, if it is a equator line, if you move towards the polar region, either upward or downward direction, the temperature is going to decrease. Temperature decreases as we move from equator region, either upper side or lower side, the temperature decreases. And also temperature decreases from the plain to the mountain region. As you move from the plain to the mountain, the temperature also decreases. And the temperature will be sub-zero in polar region or in high altitude region. In high altitude region, the temperature will be sub-zero. But the temperature is very high, which is more than 100 degree centigrade in tropical deserts. During summer. So, sir, we also know that there are many special habitats where the temperature is beyond 100 degree centigrade. So some of them are the thermal springs and hydrothermal vents. Thermal springs and hydrothermal vents where temperature is more than 100 degree centigrade. The temperature is more than 100 degree temperature, but in tropical it is only 50 degree, more than 50 degree centigrade during the summer season. So based on the temperature, so the plant distribution and organisms habitats are decided. For this we may get one or two examples. Mango tree we do not see in the Canada and Germany because these are the colder region, and the snow leopard, which is usually survive in the colder region, is not found in the Kerala forest, and tuna fish, which is not usually observed. So the beyond the area tropical latitudes in the ocean. So these are the examples which suggest that the particular region in which the particular organisms survive. So based on the tolerance of the organisms to the temperature, there are two types of organisms groups are there. One is stenothermal, another one is euthermal animals. Euthermal and another one is stenothermal. important for 1 marks question in our theory exam. Eurythermal means the animals which tolerate wide range of temperature. The animals which tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperature. They tolerate wide range of temperature. But then a majority of the organisms or very vast animals are restricted very narrow temperature. So most of the majority of animals or organisms which are restricted to a narrow range of temperature are called stenothermal. They can tolerate wide range of temperature. Such organisms are called eurythermal, but those organisms which are restricted to narrow range of temperature are called the stenothermal. So this is the type of animals. So temperature influence or affect the enzyme activity, through which there is a influence on basal metabolism, activity of organisms, and also physiological functions. So next abiotic factor which we are going to discuss is the water. Water is the second abiotic factor. Next one is water. After temperature, water is the very important abiotic factor. So the most important factor which influence the life of organisms, in fact life originated in the water. Life originated in the water. The early life originated in the water. When first a single cell formation took place, and that single cell formation has took place in the water itself. And we also know that life cannot exist without water. ನೀರಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಬದುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. And the major part of a cell is water. If you take a single cell, so the major part of a single cell is water. Means water is very important from cell itself only. So even the single cell organism, they also require the water. So the availability of water is very restricted in a desert condition. There is very small amount of water is available, and that's why the animals which are surviving in the desert has to develop certain adaptations to survive in such condition. So we see many examples. For example, if you take the cactus which has several adaptations, morphological, physiological, anatomical adaptations, and they all are required to survive in such a hot condition or limited water availability condition. So in cactus we see the leaves are modified into spine-like structure, stem is modified into leaf-like structure, there is a thick cuticle, sunken stomata, heavy mucilage content, and physiological activity like stomata are opening during night time and closing at the daytime. So many such adaptations are there in organisms which are surviving in the desert condition. The distribution of plants is depending upon the availability of water. The development or distribution of plants is basically depending upon the water. And if you think that the aquatic animals which are surviving in ocean, water, lakes are not having any problems because they are in water, it's wrong. They also have the problem, and problem is the many characters of the water, like composition of salt, concentration of water, pH of water also matters for the organism's survival. The salt concentration we also call the or measure the salinity part per thousand. So based on this we can say the inland water has 5 inland water salinity is its salt concentration is 5 ppm means part per 1000 ppt part per 1000, and sea water has 30 to 35 ppt, and highlands lagoons hypersaline lagoons hypersaline lagoons have more than 100 ppt salt concentration, more than 100 salt concentration. So here also we see 2 groups of organisms based on tolerance to the salinity. So one group is euryhaline and another group is stenohaline. Euryhaline means the organism which tolerate the wide range of salinity. They tolerate wide range of salinity. Even though there is a wide difference in the salinity, they can survive, and such organisms are called the euryhaline. Stenohaline means they are restricted only narrow range of salinity or salt concentration. If there is a only small change, then only they survive. If there is a huge change in concentration, they cannot survive, and such group of organisms are called the stenohaline. That's why the organisms which are living in sea or cannot live in the river water, and the organisms which are living in river, they are not able to survive in the sea water for a longer time. The next abiotic factor which we are going to discuss is third factor, that is light. Next one is light. So the light is very important for photosynthetic function for autotrophs. Photosynthesis is one of the very important function by autotrophs or green plants. Without sunlight, photosynthesis is not possible, and by photosynthesis only plant can produce food for them also and food for the other organisms. So we all depend on the plants for the food, and that food is prepared by photosynthesis. In forest, there are many small plants like herbs and small shrubs which are constantly growing in overshadowed the tree canopy. They are adapted for that condition only. So canopy is the huge branches. On the shadow there are small trees. So these small trees grow usually in the overshadowed region of the larger tree, and they are adapted to such a condition. So the light is also required to the plants for photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is another process or phenomena which is depending on the light. Then what is photoperiodism? Photoperiodism means there are some plants which flowers only when they are exposed to one particular duration of light. If they get that duration of light only, they flower, otherwise they won't flower. So that process is called the photoperiodism. So in first year class we have studied that based on the exposure to the light duration. There are 3 types of plants are there: short day plants, long day plants and day neutral plants. Short day plants are those which require less than critical duration of light exposure, then only they flower. Long day plants are those which require exposure to light more than critical period of light. And another group, day neutral plants, they are not bothered whether duration of light is small or larger, and such group of plants are called the day neutral plants. Light is also important to the animals for their different activities. For animals, how light is going to helpful. So the animals require light for their diurnal and seasonal functions. Diurnal means the organisms search their food usually in daylight. But there are some organisms which search or they get their food in night time. Such organisms we call as a nocturnal animals. And also there are some animals which breed only particular season. And such animals we call the seasonal breeders. And the another important fact is migration. Organisms shift or move from one place to other place whenever there is a variation in the temperature or light intensity. When the organism gets the heavy colder condition, they shift to the hot region for the survival, for the continuation of their generation. So the animals also require light. But what the things which happen in the depth of the sea, where light is not penetrate the deeper portion of the ocean, because the depth of the ocean is more than 500 meters. Light can penetrate only the upper region, and the organisms which are there, they survive using the sunlight. But the organisms which are there in the deeper part of the ocean, they won't get light, but how can they get the energy? They get energy from the organisms which are there in the upper region. Among the three algae, we see red algae in the deeper portion, because red algae is the one which absorbs the blue light, and blue light can penetrate the deeper ocean. So next, the abiotic factor is soil. The soil, nature of the soil and character of the soil are important for the vegetation. So the last abiotic factor which we are going to discuss is the soil. The nature and properties of soil in different places vary. So the nature of the soil is depending on the climate. Nature of the soil is depending on the climate. It is depending on the withering process, how the soil, withering means soil formation. Withering process decides what type of soil is forming, and whether soil is transported or sedimented. Whether soil is transported or sedimented there itself. Sedimented, that also matters for the vegetation. And how soil development takes place. Various characters of the soil is also important. The character of the soil are soil composition, characters of soil, the soil composition, what type of chemical components are there, or microorganisms are there, minerals are there, grain size, whether slate or sand or any other kind of soil which decided by the grain size, and aggregation determines percolation. If the water holding capacity is high, vegetation is going to be higher. If the water percolates very easily, there is no vegetation. So these are the some of the characters or abiotic factors which are interacting or decides what type of habitats or what type of organisms should be developing there in a particular ecosystem. So here I am going to conclude this segment. We will continue the next part of this topic in the next class. Thank you.